Hello, once again, and welcome to everyone. I am Jim, and this is Kyle, and we are Crimson Tide. Today we have, a rather interesting topic to discuss with everyone. Um, Politics. Yes,
However,
politics.
however, before anybody gets angry and starts chasing us down with pitchforks, we're not going to be talking about politics from a left wing or right wing perspective. We're going to talk about the political scene in general and what we think about it. It's not going to be a left versus right discussion here. So put your pitchforks away. You can put out your torches.
It's and the thing is that this is not about the Democrats. This is not about the Republicans. We're not talking about parties here. We're talking about, honest to God, politics. We're talking about politicians, and now, especially with what we have coming up here within the next couple of days, we've got elections. And these elections, basically are going to bring us in the direction of our future moving forward. And here we are listening to TV ads and radio commercials and everything else, and it's nothing but a great big massive mudslinging throw under the bus type of situation. It's garbage, and we don't need to be making decisions on hearsay and all this other stuff, when it comes to, well, we're going to get a new governor, or we're voting on, even all the way down to school board officials. It's just for me, I have a very difficult time with it, because it's not about the two parties. Oh, the Republicans are going to be in control, or the Democrats are going to be in control. It's not about that. It's about who is going to do the job.
I'm gonna be honest, man. Some people would consider me a hypocrite because I'm registered to vote, but I choose not to. But here's the thing: I think my reason is good. I don't like to vote because none of the candidates we're presented with gives me anything to want to vote for. They don't give me anything to give me hope, make me excited for the future. All politics has become is, for lack of a better word, a shit show. Let's see who can talk the most shit about who. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who wins, red or blue, Pepsi or Coke. You know, it's all the same. Nothing ever changes. And what's alarming to me is the fact that politics seems to be getting dangerous, even because
Sure.
because look at how predatory certain political groups have become. And like even when I was a kid, and I'm one of the newer generations. I guess you could consider me a millennial because I was born in the '90s. But even when I was a kid, people respected your political views. They didn't outright attack you. Oh my God, you're a Republican. You're racist. You're this. You're that. Oh my God, you're a Democrat. You're this and that. There were, there might have been a little bit of that here and there, but not to the degree that it is now. And honestly, I don't know if you would agree with me, Jim, but I feel like ever since the 2016 election, that's when that left versus right attack mode really went into full effect.
Oh, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. And but the question is, why?
Well, my opinion is because they they allowed for generalizations to be made too much. For example, you know, because some Trump supporters are racist, KKK members, some of them are, extremists in the eyes of the government. They, the media, started taking those extreme ends of the spectrum and applying it to every single person that leans a certain way. So you have
Right.
so you have all these media conglomerates like CNN that are usually left leaning basically calling all of the right-leaning people racists and this and that. Then you have right-leaning media outlets like Fox doing the same thing to the other side. And people have become toxic with politics. It's like people aren't happy with their own lives unless they have somebody to be mad at, somebody to blame for the way the world is. They,
Right.
they don't want to rise up and do something about it. They'd rather blame some group for everything being messed up because it stops them from having to take any responsibility for themselves. Like they don't have to take responsibility in their community because they can just blame a particular group of people for everything that's going wrong in the country, for everything that's going wrong in their neighborhoods, you know?
Yep.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse to the point where I'm starting to be afraid for what this country is going to look like in 5 or 10 years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, there's something that's interesting, and I just saw it here on a local TV station. And, once again, basically working and looking at what you were saying in regards to, being afraid, being extremely concerned about the country that, I mean, the direction the country is going in. And what happened here is we actually have a person that is going to be, one of the polling supervisors in Minneapolis. He is actually going to work every day, just preparing for the election. He goes to work every day wearing a bulletproof vest. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with that picture is that, you know, honestly, I blame the media the most for the atmosphere of politics today because, you know, they over they make everything over dramatic. They only talk about the negative. They just get people more angry and more angry and more angry
Right.
because anger sells ratings. The more angry people are, the more they'll tune in. It's brainwashing at its finest.
Well,
Because,
yeah.
because honestly, you know, I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not a Biden guy. I'm not a left versus right guy at all. I haven't been part of the left right paradigm for some time. And when I first started to break away from that right versus left way of thinking, I started to notice things. Like you ever notice how no other political party has any voice or any ability to run for president? You never see conservatives, you never see member of the Tea Party, you never see any people like that in
Right.
political debates. You never see them polling even.
That's true.
They have no voice. They have to put them on the ballots because it would be obvious that the game is rigged if they didn't do that. But it's all we get is one or the other, and neither one is better than the other. I mean, look at the shape our country's in. We're
Right.
we're hemorrhaging money because all these politicians want to send billions of dollars overseas instead of trying to fix things domestically. We have the biggest deficit we've ever had.
Right. And it just keeps growing each and every day.
Yeah, and the all these politicians really care about is climbing up the ladder enough to where they get these cushy gigs where they can pay basically get $400,000. I looked it up. Members of Congress get paid $300,000 to $400,000 a year for life once they're elected.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just like presidents get 400K a year for life.
And that is, and I still haven't figured that one out. Yeah, I don't understand it, but
I mean,
it's like,
there's a
yeah,
reason over 80% of congressmen are millionaires.
right. And and again, for example, back when good old Ronald Trump was in office, he said, "Well, I don't want the government's money." And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting, and that's mighty kind of you to say. But when he's told the U.S. government that he didn't need their money, I'm wondering if he still got it or not.
Well, there's evidence that he donated his salary to certain charities and whatnot. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's actually well documented. I mean,
Okay,
that part's actually legit.
and that's
But
cool.
I'm gonna tell you, man, like it's like ever since the Trump versus Hillary election, our political climate has gotten so toxic.
I agree.
I mean, I can't go anywhere online on Facebook, especially, without seeing, oh, you think this and this, you must be a Trump supporter. Oh, you think this and this, you must be a Biden supporter.
Right,
And then they resort to calling each other names. I miss the days where we could have intelligent debates about our views.
right.
You know, I miss the days where political debates were actually interesting,
Mm-hmm.
instead of who can sling the most mud at who.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to hear you, if you're a politician and you're running for office, I don't want to hear you talk shit about the other guy. I want to hear you tell me what you're going to do for me if I elect you.
Right.
That's what I want to hear. Okay, if you elect me, I'll do this. I'll fix this. I'll sign a law about et cetera into policy. You know, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
But we haven't heard that in so long.
And I don't know if we ever will again, which is even more concerning.
Well, every country that's ever started out as a democracy has eventually turned tyrannical, and it's slowly happening here because they're outlawing what you can say. They're outlawing certain groups of people. They're they're outlawing certain opinions, and that's how it starts, man.
Oh
Next
yeah.
thing next thing you know, they're going to be burning books.
They've already done that, and you saw how far that went.
Exactly.
But and it I have to say that when I was as I was growing up, I was I was raised in a family of hardcore Republicans. And it was all, it was not about the stance of the person that was running. Just as long as he was Republican, that was all that mattered. And so, my father and my mother, preached to the high heavens that the Republican way of life was the way to do it. I mean, I even went to a Republican rally when I was probably, shoot, maybe 12 years old. And I went to this Republican rally, and I mean, everybody is pumped up and jacked up and running around and acting crazy and, you know, basically worshiping the person that was, representing the Republican Party in the election. And I'm looking around kind of going, okay, everybody's supposed to vote red, but why? And so at a very early age, I was already trying to analyze this. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking about stuff and I'm talking to people about it. And I'm like, I don't get it. Why do I have to vote for this loudmouth guy that's dancing around on stage, putting on a fantastic performance just so that he can get into office? Is it really about serving his fellow man? Is it really about representing his state? No, I kept getting that feeling that it was all about the dollar signs. It did not make any difference if the guy was qualified or not, as long as he was running for the Republican Party. You got to vote for him because Republicans stick together. Well, no.
I'll tell you what started to open my eyes to it. You know, when I was in high school, I forget what the class was called. I think it was some kind of economics class. But we would cover political stuff, and we would do debates and things like that.
Sure.
And you know, so I'm over here. I'm learning how to do a proper debate, and I'm watching these so-called political debates, and all I can notice is, you know, it's so much the opposite of what I'm learning a debate is supposed to be.
Right.
And that was when I was in high school. It's only gotten worse since then. And you know, that's what started to get me out of the Democrat versus Republican, you know, brainwash routine. Because honestly, man, I'm going to tell you what I think it all boils down to: tribalism. Think
Okay.
think about it. When you know when we were first, you know, when humans first came about, we would break off into tribes, right? Every
Right.
every tribe would have a leader, and we're still tribal animals. You know,
That's true.
people can't seem to have a stable life unless they have some form of authority over them, and they can blame their problems on a certain group of people.
Sure.
I mean, people thrive off of drama. People thrive
Oh, Lord.
off of the negativity. And it doesn't matter how nasty it gets because they can just blame it on this person or that person.
Right.
People have completely lost track of what's really important. And politics is 100% to blame because, you know, like our last episode, we're talking about the stigma of mental health, right? Well,
Yep.
one of the biggest reasons that the mental health situation is what it is because of politics, because they propagandize mental health. They they skew what it is in the eyes of the public. They they
Okay.
they turn it into another one of those groups that people can blame things on, so
Right.
that they don't have to lose sleep at night and wonder, oh, is am I partially to blame for this? Is it my fault because I elected this person and they're doing a bad job? No. Let's just blame somebody else. Let's just pass the buck onto somebody else so that we don't have to think about that. So we can just go
Right.
with our lives and do what we do and not take any responsibility for who we vote for, what they do in office. You know, it's bad. It's getting worse and worse.
And now where we're at, and we have seen that maybe we have seen some of the error of our ways. Once again, I personally would love to see the Democrat Party and the Republican Party completely torn apart. I would like to see both of those things. No, I don't want to, I would love to see no Democrat, no Republican. Those parties are completely, destroyed, disassembled. They no longer exist. And now instead of having the parties, all we have is just candidates, not representing a party, but just candidates up there and voting on those candidates. Not Republican, not Democrat, not liberal, not Tea Party, not legalized marijuana party. None of those parties. Throw them all out the door and just go, here we are. Let's just go for it and let's vote for the best person. Not the party, but the person.
And I'll expand on that. I think they should lower the age limit on who can run for president because the way the rules are set up, it seems to favor career politicians. I mean,
True.
with the exception of people like Trump, Trump is the exception to this, but 99% of the people you see running for president have been congressmen, congress ladies, have been in the political system for decades.
Right.
Like I want to see more military men and women running. I want to see some young blood running for office. That's
Right.
that's what I want to see because it's become painfully clear that the system we have now isn't working. And I can't help but wonder if it's that way by design.
It could very well be. It could very well be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so what do we do?
Well, what I think should be done is we completely overhaul the political system. You know, let me ask you a question, Jim.
Sure.
What do you think would happen if they had a big election like the one coming up and not a single person voted?
Well, first of all, the odds of nobody voting pretty slim, but I think it would send a real big message. I think it would tell a story going, yeah, you know what? The system is broken, and we can't be working off of a general election, a general vote anymore because the people know that the system is broken. So it's basically, yeah, let's completely boycott all the voting. However, when the problem is that we have got some very, very delusional people out there. And so if everybody decides, okay, we're not going to vote, there will be no votes, nothing like that, but you're still going to have the disgruntled little blankety blanks wandering around still that are going to want to vote because that way, when nobody's voting, that makes their vote even more important.
Well, I'm about to drop a huge knowledge bomb on our audience here,
I like knowledge.
and I'm going to expose one of the biggest secrets that the media uses to politically brainwash its audience. Are you
Oh,
familiar with something known as neuro linguistic programming?
actually, I am. And from what I can recall, it's almost like way back in the day when we had what they called subliminal messaging, that was actually a part of a lot of songs, kind of like "Stairway to Heaven" by Led Zeppelin. Many
About
songs.
backmasking, right?
What's
Where when
that?
you're talking about backmasking, where when you play the music backwards, there's a message there.
Exactly.
Well, if you pay really close attention, CNN is especially, they do it the most. If you pay really close attention, they use neuro linguistic programming very heavily, and like for example, when they have a guest on that they know doesn't agree with them politically, you'll notice that they'll sit a certain way. They'll put themselves in an aggressive posture. They'll make certain hand gestures that subliminally tell people they don't even notice it themselves. It's in their subconscious. They subconsciously automatically think that a person is not credible based on the way that the interviewer is acting towards that person. It's subliminal judgments that are made in our subconscious. They've learned that with neurolinguistic programming, they can say and do things a certain way, and it'll spark a reaction in the audience, and they're not even aware of it most of the time. You know,
Sure.
and that that's a huge weapon that they use in politics because you know nothing will get you votes quicker than making your audience angry at someone else.
True.
And You know, it's like I said, they sensationalize drama because people thrive on drama. If you want proof that people thrive on drama, look at television programming. There's a reason it's called television programming.
Okay.
Look at all the TV shows. You know, Big Brother, Jersey Shore, shows like that sensationalize drama and fighting and anger.
Oh, of course. And I've got to give you a little bit of an example of exactly what you're talking about today. I was watching the football game. The Minnesota Vikings took on the Washington. Well, they used to be known as the Redskins, but whatever. Um, but Minnesota Vikings. It was interesting. I mean, you did not see the commentators, but you could hear them, and obviously. And the thing that I found was very interesting is you could tell from word go that they were not on the side of the Vikings because they were constantly putting down any activity that the Vikings were going to do. And so they're like, oh, the Vikings are up by 3, but all it would take is for them to fumble one time and it's done. And just that kind of angle and approach. And you could tell that they were not rooting for the Vikings because they did that over and over and over and over again. You could tell that they were definitely wanting the Vikings to lose to Washington today. And and I can understand that we are all like that in some way, shape, or form. But once again, when it comes to the political ads, what we're hearing and what we're seeing on TV is not always a fact. And you listen to the way the commercial, the advertisement is run, and you're right. They're all about getting into your mind and saying, and repetition. Holy crap, I am so sick of these commercials I could puke. I mean, you will have it is so funny because back in the day you'd have commercials about toilet paper and you'd have commercials about candy bars and here, we'll try out this brand new kind of maxi pad. Fabulous. Now all we do is, oh well, such and such voted against blah blah blah, and now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, and it is such a shitstorm. I just cannot stand this time of year.
If you'd permit me, I would like to drop another knowledge bomb on our audience.
Oh, you can drop a knowledge bomb on me. I'm dumb as a post.
No, you're not. You're a very
I
smart man.
yeah, whatever.
Well, did you know that a scientific study was done, and when a person is sitting in front of their television, their brain waves are the exact same as they are during REM sleep. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Why is that?
It's because when a person is watching television, it engages their mind in such a way where they kind of zone out and their brain waves slow down. And that's why you get a lot of those repetitive commercials, because they're taking advantage of that. They know the science behind this, and they know that if they repeat something enough times, it'll subconsciously brainwash you to remember it. Here's a good example. You probably couldn't remember what you had for dinner 2 months ago, right? But I bet you can remember a commercial, and it's
That's true.
30.
Hey, remember Snuggle fabric softener? You got the Snuggle teddy bear. How many years has it been since you saw that commercial?
Yeah, dude, I can still sing that dumb commercial song they made for Snickers, and that commercial song hasn't been on television for like what 5 6 years.
True.
I can't remember a conversation you and I had 2 weeks ago, but I can remember that damn Snickers commercial.
And that's very true. And
There's
so,
actually a documentary that I recommend to you and to our audience. It's a documentary that's narrated by Woody Harrelson, and it's called Ethos. And what ethos does is it goes into a little bit of politics, but mostly our economy and how subliminal messages, neuro linguistic programming, and all those things are used, even propaganda, used to influence how people buy products and how people view products. Are
Sure.
you familiar with Operation Mockingbird?
I have heard of it, but that's been a while ago.
All right. Well, for those in our audience who are unfamiliar with Operation Mockingbird, basically what Operation Mockingbird was is during the time of when everybody was freaking out about the communists, the CIA and other letter organizations of the government bought up a lot of media outlets, and their reason for that was to control propaganda. And so if you actually do the research as I have, and you look into the people that own these media organizations, you'll start to notice that the same people own the media outlets through affiliate companies, derivatives. You can trace the trees up and up and up, and the same people own them all. Because during Operation Mockingbird, the government actually purchased all of these outlets and never gave them back. And so not only so they do control the propaganda, they just use it on their own people.
Yeah,
And
that's scary.
and honestly, man, that's why I stopped watching live television. Like everything I watch is, streaming, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and even that stuff has it to an extent. But I've found that if I reduce my exposure to it, it doesn't affect me as much. It doesn't bother me as much if I can control my exposure to it. But the reason I'm bringing up things like Operation Mockingbird and neuro linguistic programming and television programming is because I want our audience to understand that when we're talking about politics, we're talking about how it's being weaponized against people without them knowing it. It's not about if you are a Republican or Democrat. I honestly have nothing against either side. I'll have a intellectual conversation with anyone, regardless of which way they lean. But I just like to talk about the way politics is being used against people because I don't think the general public really sees how dangerous the wrong political statements can be to their everyday lives and how much control they're giving to these people.
Right. And it's interesting, you know. I look at the political front, and one more thing that I have learned over the years is the person that's going to be elected to a state office or a federal office or whatever the case is, it isn't so much about what they know or what they've experienced. It's how much money they can spend on their campaign. The person that can spend the most money and can brainwash everyone by continuously forcing these falsehoods down their throat is the person that's going to win.
And let me throw another question at the people to really get their gears turning. If we're talking about people that are millionaires and billionaires, why do they need to raise money for campaigns? Why don't they use their own money for campaigns?
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean that's very true. And so it's like, okay, what is the answer to that one? What is the, and I expect to hear crickets. I really do.
Well, I actually have an answer for that question.
Oh, this will be interesting. I can't wait.
It's all about lobbying. Look at all these ex-politicians and corporate CEOs that lobby to have certain laws passed or certain laws continued and not taken off. I mean, you have politicians that make several $100,000 in a month time just because a CEO said, okay, I want this policy to be voted yes, and I'll give you $200,000 if you lean in that direction. It's all about lobbying. That's the secret to why our political system is so corrupt. It's because you have ex politicians and corporate CEOs, Wall Street types,
Yep.
lobbying to have certain policies enforced and certain policies not enforced. There's a
True.
lot of money that exchanges hands. And here's something else that our audience might not be aware of. Back in 2012, they passed a law where politicians are no longer required to disclose where their money donations come from.
Hmm. And that to me that sounds stupid. But once again, it's control. It's control. We are filtering the information that is being let out there to everyone. So it is only exactly what we want it to be, or what the politicians want it to be, and what we, and we are basically completely masked from what is actually going on in the background. We have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you can control what a person thinks and what a person believes, you have them. You can
That's right.
you can control every aspect of a person's life just by controlling what they think and what they believe.
Exactly.
And the people that are high up in these systems know this.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason that they use neuro linguistic programming. There's a reason they use propaganda. There's a reason they use repetition.
Right.
There's a reason they try to engage your mind. They try to engage that tribal side of you. Everybody has that inside, that tribal side, that animalistic side where they react before thinking. Everybody has it.
Sure.
And they use the political system as a way to play to that in people. Because if they get you mad enough at a Democrat, you'll vote Republican. If they get you
Right.
mad enough at a Republican, you'll vote Democrat.
Exactly.
If they get you to hate a certain person enough, you can even hate an entire group just based on that person. Look at the Trump situation.
Right.
Every, now every Republican is called a Trump supporter, even if they're not one.
That's true.
And the same thing happens on the other side. I see it on Facebook all the time. Oh, you must have voted for Biden. Oh, you must have voted for this person and that person.
And when I see that kind of crap that comes up like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever the social platform is that you use, the thing is that it's like, oh, you must have voted for him or you must have voted for her or whatever the case is, and it's like, you know what? In all reality, the only thing is that I voted for who I felt was going to do a good job. It doesn't make any difference. To to anybody out there, it doesn't make any damn difference who I actually voted for. You know why? Because that was my choice and my decision, and I'm not going to share that information with anyone. Why? Because I don't need anybody judging me on how I voted.
You know,
Newsflash, I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for based on based on an educated choice and decisions. Period.
I've had members of my own family come at me sideways based on who I voted or who they think I voted for. Because, as I said previously, I don't vote, and the
Right.
reason the reason I don't vote is because I think the whole system is a farce. And if I
Yep.
think the whole system is a farce, I'm not going to participate in it.
That's true.
And people will say, "Well, Kyle, if you don't vote, what gives you the right to complain?" But I flip that. I say I didn't vote for this person and that person, so I have every right to complain.
True.
What are you gonna say? Like not you, but you being the general person. What are you gonna say if the person you voted for is making a wreck of everything? Are you going to say, "Oh, well, I voted for him, so it's my fault"? No. You're
Of
going to
course
blame
not.
you're going to blame the other side of the aisle. Me, I'm not going to vote. So if I see somebody in office and they're doing the wrong things, I'll call it out if I feel the need to do so. And I can do that because they never had my vote in the first place.
Right. And in my situation, and it's just like yours, because I absolutely refuse to even acknowledge the party lines, acknowledge the Democrat, the Republican, the liberal, because I choose not to acknowledge any of that. I have full ability to criticize anyone and everyone that I choose to. Whether it's a person I voted for or a person I did not vote for, I don't care. Why? Because I have that right. I have made my choices and my decisions not on a party. I made it on the person themselves, no matter how much brainwashing they've attempted to put me through.
And I'm glad you said that because that brings me to another point I want to make. It seems that a lot of, and I don't want to bastardize a certain group of people either. But I've seen people that are so caught up in this red versus blue mentality that they don't use critical thinking.
Right.
They don't think logically about the situation. They could be confronted with 1,000 reasons why the person they're supporting is bad news, and all they're going to care about is the person you are supporting, and if they're bad news.
Exactly.
And it really, I have a niece who's 5 years old, you know, and she's a beautiful soul, beautiful, innocent.
She's a
And
little cutie.
yeah, and I can't help but wonder, like if things are this bad now, what's it gonna be like when she's my age? Is there even still gonna be a United States of America when she's my age?
That's a very good question. And
No,
I don't even know that. I don't, and of course, none of us do.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Jim. It really scares me to see how extreme things are getting, and being in that constant mindset of, wow, man, can it get any worse than this? You know?
Well, but at the same time, you can't really um, focus on that per se, just because I remember, and this is kind of weird, but I was born. Oh, yep, all heck is breaking loose. Guess what? Pizza's here. But anyway, yeah. So my puppy dog, by the way, my puppy dog is very very protective, and it is about ferocious as a wet slug. And so she likes to bark a lot. And so throughout our webcasts, and yeah, every once in a while, you know what? No matter how hard I try, there is no way I can get her to behave the way I want her to. And so we will get occasional outbursts. And when we do, it's just like, bear with me. This is unscripted. We are not doing this because we want to. It's just happening. So, yeah. But now I've completely lost my frame of mind. My thought process is 100% gone. And you know what? I'm just going to roll with it because that's exactly how I do things.
Well,
But yeah, wow.
we were talking about how you were saying I can't focus on the situation in the country per se because
Okay, now I got it. I remember. The thing is that, I don't exactly want to date myself telling everybody that, I'm 150 years old or anything along that line, but I do remember at the very tail end, well, I remember what it was like at the very tail end of what was known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were absolutely 100% positive that the world was going to end. It was going to end tomorrow. I mean, my mom and my dad, and I think it was primarily my mom. I'm not sure why my dad didn't do this. But anyway, my mom remembered doing missile strike. What did they call that?
Drill.
It was missile strike trials. And so when she was a kid, when they would do a missile strike drill, the kids would dive underneath their desks. They would run out into the hallway and they would curl up in a ball facing the wall. And that is how they would, you know, prepare for a missile strike from Cuba. Now, bear in mind, this is northern Minnesota. The town has got a population of about 500 people. Okay, the school is just a hair over a one-room schoolhouse, basically. And, and these people are bracing for that kind of a situation all the way up there, all the way up in northern Minnesota. You think the missiles are going to fly that far? You think they're going to want to take out little tiny rural neighborhoods? No, they're going after the big cities, but they still had to go through those drills. And so the moral of the story, trying to shape it a little bit, is you can only really focus on and worry about things that you have some control over. If you cannot control what is happening in that kind of a front, you are doing nothing but wasting your time. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy focusing on something that you have no control over. That's it.
Exactly, my friend. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's that exact reason is why I don't watch live TV. You know, I'm a man who likes to watch my shows and my movies, but I don't watch them live. I limit
Mm-hmm.
I limit my exposure to news outlets, and all of my friends, my good friends, they do the same. You
I
know,
agree.
and we limit our exposure to it because honestly, even if you're in the realm of thinking of people like you and I and people like my friends, it's still easy to get caught up in the minutia of the anger and the oh my god, why is everything so bad all the time. It's so easy to get caught up in that. And
Yes.
so what I try to do personally to break away from that a bit is I'm a techie. I stick to my tech. I build computers. I build servers. I do stuff online. I watch movies. I instead of freaking out about the political landscape, I freak out because Henry Cavill got casted as Superman again. You know,
There you go. Exactly.
instead of getting excited about elections, I'm excited for Phase 6 of the MCU. That's what makes me excited because
There you
I'm a
go.
geek. I'm a nerd. I'm a big ginger nerd through and through. I don't care about politics. Give me a streaming service with horror movies and Marvel movies and DC movies and I'm sold, man. I'll watch movies and shows all day long. Sit on my computer typing away, not really give a shit about politics, man. And
Yeah,
honestly, I wish more people would not necessarily do what I do because not everybody's geeky like me.
yeah, I know what you do. Eh.
Touche.
Ha!
Um, but what I will say is that a lot of the reason I think for the anger and the angst, people have lost touch with the finer things in life. You know,
Agreed.
simple things like oh my God, it's a beautiful day outside. Let me go outside and mow the lawn. Let me go outside and have a picnic. You
Right.
know, hey, I'm alive today. Let me celebrate the fact that I'm alive today.
Exactly.
Let's celebrate the fact that it's the weekend and I have a family and we can do things together. You know, people have lost touch with the real beauty in the world
I
and
agree.
the real things that matter in life, and that's why they're so angry. It's a symptom of our society. If it really is because we allow our society to dictate so much of our lives. hey, you're this age, so you have to have a home. You're this age, so you have to get married. You're this age, so you have to have kids. You're this age, so you have to go to college. You
Right.
know, we let society and people that we don't know dictate so much of our lives. And I don't think people really stop and think about that. And
I don't
how
think so either.
and how crazy that really is.
Right. And, and what I want to do now is, kind of give everybody just a little bit of a flash about, well, some of the things that I myself have had to experience within the last year and a half. Um, I, the other day, I sat back and I was, I saw my fabulous commercials on TV and all of the, oh yeah, well he voted to defund the police. Well, she did this and blah 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 and all this political garbage went on. And basically what I took away from all of this was, what is the difference between listening and hearing? And the thing is that when it comes to ads like this, if you are if you are listening to them, you're not really analyzing or taking in or understanding what they're saying. But when you are hearing them, that is when you are actively focusing on what is going on, focusing on, what are the different stories here, what is truth, what is fictional, and you don't need to look for anybody to tell you what is what. Oh, this is the truth, or this is a lie. You're intelligent people. You are, you know, you should know. I mean, you got to voting age. What, by chance? No, by growing and by developing and becoming more intelligent as time has gone on. That is exactly what you've done. Kyle, you have something to say?
Yes, I wanted to add that the reason the reason I am the way I am about, you know, I hear, to play on your point here, I hear all this political crap going on, but I don't listen to it. The reason I don't
Exactly.
listen to it is because I'm the kind of guy that likes to decide what the truth is for myself. You know,
Right.
if somebody says something around me or I hear someone say something and it piques my interest, I'm not going to take their word for it. I'm going to go research it myself.
Exactly.
I'm going to learn every possible thing I can about that subject. And then I'll base my opinion off of what I've learned. Because
Yes.
I find that the main difference between hearing and listening is ignorance.
True. Very true. And folks, take it into consideration. And I mean, I know that the listening or the viewing audience, was not aware of this, but I am actually 85% deaf. 85% deaf. I've got fabulous headphones. Fantastic. I have got robotic hearing aids in these things. I mean, I can hear a fly fart at 50 yards. Okay, these things are amazing. But the problem is that, I went through a major accident where I had an explosion, and yeah, it took 85% of my hearing. And so, actually, I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to say it took 85% of my listening. It took 85% of my listening. It did not take any of my hearing.
Wow,
If you really think about that,
that's
I
deep.
can. I mean, thank God I can still hear, and I am glad that a lot of the listening part is now gone. But the moral of the story is, in order to actually hear someone, you have to pay attention and you have to learn how to hear. everybody takes listening for granted. Everybody does that. But when it comes to hearing, really understanding, really paying attention to the person that is speaking, that is a true skill and an unbelievable gift. So, my word to everybody out there today that is listening to this webcast, stop listening. Stop listening immediately. Shut it down. No more listening. Start hearing, because hearing makes all the difference in the world.
It helps you filter out the bullshit.
You got it. You got it.
And I want to pose another interesting question.
Sure.
You said you can hear a fly fart at 500 yards. I would like to know, do flies actually fart?
Maybe. And well, the only thing that I really have that proves that hypothesis is, if you ever watch a fly and it's just buzzing along and it's nothing too exciting, it's just and all of a sudden it takes off. There you go. There you go. I mean, I can't be more specific than that. I mean, yes.
that thorax butt propulsion. That's what
You got it. You got it. Afterburners, baby. They gone.
You know, I'm going to tell you something I took away from your story there about losing your hearing. It's like people take so much for granted until they lose it.
Yes.
And you've always been I've known you for a long time. Just so the audience is aware, I've known Jim here since I was about 14 or 15 years old. We used to be on a cool little fun website together, and that's how I met him.
Yep.
We would talk back and forth. We became good friends. We stayed good friends. And Jim, you've always been a very well-read person. You've always been very intelligent.
That could change.
but I do know that you fell into a trap at some point in your life that we all do. We take certain things for granted. Like we take our senses for granted. We take our surroundings for granted.
Our relationships for granted.
Relationships, especially, yes.
You bet.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I know that if I was in your situation, losing 85% of my hearing, it would really make me stop and think about what I'm actually hearing and what I'm actually listening to.
Correct.
Because nine out of 10 people wouldn't know what to do if suddenly one of those senses that they take for granted was suddenly stripped away from them.
Correct. And the thing is that a lot of people go, well, man, what happened? I mean, now you're deaf and this and that, and you can't, how are you even going to function? And for me, it was interesting because you find a way to adapt. And I mean, I had the explosion back in June, a couple of years ago. What was it, 2021? No, 2020. Anyway, I had this massive explosion and it blew out my ears, and I did not get fitted with hearing aids until like almost 4 months later. So I became very, very good at adapting. And how did I do that? Well, hey, I learned how to read lips. And it wasn't a conscious thing, it was a subconscious thing. And so I learned how to read lips, and I never knew I was actually doing it. And so, you know what? It was like, okay. And I would go in, and now here's the thing to remember. This is mid-process of a fabulous little thing that we all know and love that is known as COVID. Everybody's wearing masks. Everybody's wearing masks except for my wife and myself in our own home where everything is safe and we're all disease or virus free. And so I was reading her lips. And that is one of the things that I was able to pick up as time went on. So, but was it easy? No, because everybody's wearing a damn mask. How are you going to read their lips when they're wearing a mask? You're not. That communication came to a screeching halt in many different scenarios. But I still was able to get through that. And now that we're on the other side of the COVID nightmare, well, guess what? I don't have to read lips anymore because my ears work. So there you go. Well, it's just one more skill that I've picked up over my years.
And that brings me to a message I want to give to our audience, to anyone who watches our podcast. You know, I'm gonna tell you where this all comes full circle. If you find yourself getting caught up in the negativity, if you find yourself, putting too much energy into what a politician is saying, what's going on in the world, if all of these things bother you and you don't like that they bother you, here's some advice that I would give you, because it's advice that I took myself. Take yourself out of that situation. Focus on things that you love. Focus on people you love. Focus on things that bring you joy, like watching a movie with your family, or playing a video game by yourself, or with your son, or with your sibling. Start to look outside of those binoculars you've been keeping in front of your face for so long, and really, really, really analyze what you have in your life, the things that you overlook by thinking about politics and other topics that upset you. Because when I started to do that, I realized that my life is not bad. Oh, for somebody who struggles with the things I struggle with, for people like me, and the people that have it worse than I realize that my life is not that bad. And if I stop
Exactly.
and if I stop focusing on things that make me angry, I can enjoy the things that make me happy more.
I agree.
And
Uh,
and if you take away anything from what I've said in this webcast, I hope it's that.
that works. And that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And yes, Kyle and I have known each other for many years. The nice thing is that I knew him before he could drive a car, and now here he is. And guess what? He is now. Oh, by the way, I'm tying my shoe. Yeah, it's nothing weird. Trust me. But the thing is that now Kyle is over the age of 28. So I've already known him for over half of his life. And the changes that I have seen in this young man is absolutely amazing. I mean, I have seen his ups, I have seen his downs. I have definitely seen his downs. But you know what? Um, by watching him and by experiencing, the changes that he has been through, it is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I've gone through a couple of changes myself too. But you know, to the listening audience, to the viewing audience, just think of it like this. There was a time when Kyle was basically, I would say, almost scared of his own shadow. He was so extremely introverted. He would not come out of his shell for any reason to anyone. And now here we are today. And Kyle is not only addressing me, but he is addressing hundreds, potentially thousands of people right here on this webcast. And that is awesome. That is awesome. So, what I'm trying to tell everybody is that if you want something bad enough, if you want to improve yourself, put your mind to it and do it. There's nothing stopping you except for you. You can do this. We are doing it every day, and we're going to keep doing it long as we draw a breath. At least that's the plan.
And I would like to make an announcement to the
Oh,
audience before we wrap this up.
he's not pregnant, by the way. Trust me.
Or am I?
Ooh, scary. Scary. Announce your announcement.
We now have an official email, KrymsonTyde@proton.me. You can find it in the description below for our YouTube folks. It is a fully encrypted email, so you don't have to worry about safety. No one but us will see your emails. If you would like to email us about anything we've discussed, if you want to share some feedback, or if you want to propose a topic for us to discuss, email us anytime. And if you're someone who needs support, if you're someone who needs a friend, you can reach out to us and you can join the trauma and PTSD group that we are a part of, and reach out to anyone there, because no matter what, you are not alone. We are all here together on this planet. You are not alone.
Exactly. Exactly so. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I can officially say that we are Crimson Tide. I'm Jim, and this is Kyle. We're wrapping it up. We're calling it good. Remember, go out and, if you so choose, vote, but do not vote for one political party or the other. Vote for the person that you believe is going to do the job right. You have a good night. You have a good day. You have a good week. And we'll see you next time right here on Crimson Tide. Be out.